Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, September 26th, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Big time overnight strength here out of the ES, pushing higher in overnight and pre-market trading. Sideways over the last several hours here as the market awaited GDP. Which has now come out in line, 3.0% quarter over quarter. Also had core PCE prices coming in line as well, 2.8%, and other economic data points, including initial jobless claims, coming in at 218K versus a 224K estimate. So a lot of strength prior to these reports coming out. Multiple hours sideways now at these highs, 6 hours sideways, and holding at new all-time highs above the 5,800 level. 5,800, the first time we're testing that major market structure level. As I've reminded you over the last couple of years, the ES is trading in 400-point distributions. You have 5,000 right here, plus 400 puts you at 5,400. Plus 400 puts you at 5,800, and you can see how the market has traded off of these levels. And the recent bounce off 5,400 has taken us to 58. This is the first time we're trading above 5,800. This is going to be interesting here to see how the market responds today, especially with a narrow range at these highs. If we start to see some sort of failure back through 58.20, 58.15, that could begin to leave behind a rejection of prices above 5,800. A rejection at 5,800 could open up a return back as deep as 5,400 up ahead, and then a shot to push back to and through 5,800 into the next major 400-point distribution above. The next 400-point distribution would be 6,200 up here down the road. So big time push through 5,800. Got to see, can the market maintain these levels, or do we see a failure? If a failure occurs, we could be looking at an outside day down, a rejection day, and perhaps a pullback to 56 and 5,400 down below. Looking at the NQ with a big time push higher in overnight and pre-market trading as well. Big time overnight strength. Again, 6 hours sideways here at these highs. Very similar to the ES here. How does the market respond after this? Hard to sell the ES and the NQ after all this strength. Very, very bullish, increasing VWAP on an intraday basis. When that slope is that bullish, you don't tend to want to fade into this strength. But again, with 6 hours of compression at these highs here, any failure, say back through 20,450, 20,425, and you start to open up a potential failure event. And so that's going to be something to keep an eye on overall. Can the market maintain these gains, or do we start to see some losing of this altitude, which could lead to a bit of a rejection day that develops? Something to keep an eye on here for the NQ, but very bullish, especially from our day one rejection here. That day one rejection was an indication that we could see 1 to 3 weeks of strength ahead, and it has paid off in a big way. All right, looking at crude oil. Crude down 2.2% here today as it approaches its RTH session. A big time failure in the previous day. It had a shot to rally and then gave it up at 71 evens. That led to a drop pretty much the rest of the day. Today we've seen overnight and pre-market selling as well. This thing really rejected off the 72 level. 72, big time level there. 72.48 is the key range low as well. So if you look at 72 here, 72.48, that was prior support. It went offered, and on the test here, big time rejection back down. So that's the level to push through down the way if we're going to see some strength here in early October. But again, as I've mentioned before, we're about to enter a seasonal window of selling pressure for crude oil. Sometime in the first 1 to 2 weeks of October, we could be looking at selling pressure that takes us into mid-December. So if we get one more squeeze to the upside, that could provide an opportunity for bears to defend into that strength for another rotation back down. All right, looking at the YM. Let's look at gold next, actually. Gold here, higher, new all-time highs, 27.0870, all-time highs day after day. What we started the month with was any pullback into this pivot range could be a buy the dip opportunity for a checkmark move into 2600 as the short-term target, and as high as that 2680 market structure level up above. This thing has done that and then some in a big way. It also got a significant breakout from this multi-week range right here. That was about 3 weeks sideways, almost a month, and then we got that big breakout, pull back and go. This thing has been very, very bullish. One thing we're keeping an eye on with gold is that this is unprecedented strength out of gold, and what does that mean for broader equities and in the broader market? Is this a defensive play ahead of what could be a broader pullback to come? So any pullback still could be a buying opportunity for gold as this thing continues to experience a very bullish uptrend right now. The YM right now showed early rejection in the previous session. This one showed quite a bit more weakness against the ES and the NQ, broke down, actually took out 3-day lows in one fell swoop, still in a narrow 4 to 5 day developing range here. And this little box up here is going to be something to keep an eye on. So it's not experiencing the strength that the ES and the NQ are experiencing right now as they push to new highs here in overnight and pre-market trading, but it did experience quite a bit of a pullback here. It is above the previous session's midpoint. There could be some bullish MGR signals right out of the gate this morning. Got to keep an eye on this zone though, because if bears come in to defend into this strength, do we start to see an inverted checkmark day down develop? As of right now, this market remains very bullish in the short term, especially from our day one rejection here. Again, that day one rejection was huge in identifying this move higher. We likened this day right here to several of the other days we've seen throughout the year, where it was that day, this day, and more, and it has delivered in a big way. But any failure here through 42,200 could start to open up a bit of a rotation back down. So keeping an eye on a potential failure event here for these markets, but still strong, especially on an intraday basis. Looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin up 2 and about 1/3% right now. This one has seen quite a bit of strength. 4 or 5 days sideways right now. That is a narrow 5-day range right here that could suggest that the next breakout move could be rather significant over the next week of trading. You can see how compressed the current developing 5-day range is. Only 2,545 points of range. That's 45% of average. We could be looking at a move that takes us somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 points of range up ahead. 6,600 would be the 125%. And so if we look at, for example, the low and call it 6,300 plus 6,000, you're looking at 69 up above, maybe as high as 70,000 on the next move. So this is a big time compression right here out of Bitcoin. This is one of the biggest moves we've seen to the upside in a while because it has been mostly down. It's had a couple of spurts of strength, but it has continued to see lower highs. And so we got to see, can this thing bust through the recent pivot high here and open up some upside into 69 to 70K above. So nice compression over the last 5 days with the potential for expansion up ahead. Looking at Ethereum, this one's up 2.5% right now. This one we've mentioned in the room over the last week of trading that there could be a 1,000-point move up ahead when price was at 2,400 here. 1,000 points from 24 would put you back to 3,400 up above. At that time, we were inside this compression right here. And what I mentioned before was that this compression, very, very similar to the one we saw earlier in the year and off the same level as well. 2,200 here, major support. That compression right here was very similar to this compression right there. And of course, that was led in part due to the inflows to the spot Bitcoin ETFs. This one right here may not be as bullish, but it could lead to some strength back toward 3,400 up above. So right now, keeping an eye on Ethereum here. This could be a new wave of strength that's developing here. It has continued to maintain a very bearish overall downtrend with lower highs, lower lows, so you have to break back above 2,800 in order to really open some things up to the upside. So right now, narrow 4-day range with the potential to bust through 2,800 up ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.